I kept thinking the first episode needed to be perfect or timely or fast. But if I'm being honest, none of those things are why the first episode took so long. The first episode took this long because I was changing, because life was happening, because motherhood was expanding me, and because I was learning how to slow down. Welcome to Milk and Hue. The space didn't come together quickly, and that was intentional. I have a tendency to put the cart before the horse, to announce things even before I fully understand them, and to keep up with a pace, with this like podcast, vlogging pace, social media pace that doesn't slow down, right? But slowing down taught me something. It taught me how to listen to my body. It taught me how to listen to my spirit and listen to the season that I was actually in, and not the one that I wanted to be in. This episode isn't about doing more. It's about handling things with care. It's about letting ideas breathe. It's about letting growth take its time and letting yourself arrive when you're ready. So if you're listening to this in a quiet moment, or on a walk, or a night feed, or on a jog, or in your car, or if you just need a moment to like pause, this is your permission to slow down. I'm glad you're here. Let's take our time. So let's get into it. As most of you know, I created Milk and Hue out of a desperation for something to change. We were stepping into a new season in our lives, and I needed something different. We had been on tour for a month, and I thought that having a space that could talk about Black motherhood and talk about the tour life would be really cool. But I definitely underestimated how much this was going to stretch me and how much this was going to teach me new things about myself. I think the main takeaway point from this segment is me telling myself that I wasn't stuck. I was listening. I was listening to the change in wind. I was listening to the change in scenery. I was listening to the change in song for myself. And it just got really hard, right? We get so caught up in productivity culture that tells us that if we're not moving at the pace that everybody else is moving at, we're behind. And that is actually not the case. And I feel like in that, it was very easy for me to fall behind, right? And as I mentioned earlier, my tendencies to announce things before they're ready definitely contributed to what was happening. We were moving every 3 weeks, every 4 weeks, every 5 weeks, and getting into a new space and packing up and getting into a new space and packing up. I think the idea of like being able to show and explain and relate made me think that this was going to be super easy. Oh, Kyra was awake. Pause. It's not a race. that has to be run in record time. Slow down. Slow down. You've got a life, you've got kids, you've got a husband. Your situation is particular. And motherhood was forcing me to slow down, to find a different pace, a different outlet, a different everything. Postpartum taught me patience. Patience with myself, patience with my husband, patience with my toddler. It taught me that I need grace. And in order to get grace, I got to give grace. And it taught me that rest is not guilt. I don't get a prize for being burnt out. I don't get a prize for overexerting myself to appease everybody else. It's okay for me to be tired and rest. It's okay to rest. And I think that that's something as mothers and as Black women, we really have to learn. There is no guilt in resting. We get tired just like the average person. But I think that we carry a lot on our backs. We carry a lot in our hearts, and we carry a lot in our minds, and we forget that we have to rest. And I'm still learning how to rest, and not just rest in body, but rest in mind. I feel like my mind is always like, next thing, what's the next thing? Where are we going? What are we doing? What are we going to eat for dinner? Do we still need diapers? Do we have formula? My mind does not rest. Even when I go to sleep, it's like, And so I'm learning that rest does not equal guilt. And I realized that I didn't want to build this in exhaustion. I wanted to build it in alignment with where God had me and has me, in alignment with what I can give to this based off of the needs of my family and the time that I actually do have. I feel like a part of me was also struggling with putting Shea Butter Mama to rest. I had built Shea Butter Mama out of my first postpartum experience. I built Shea Butter Mama shortly after I had Hendrix. And it was a space where I was finding myself. I was excited to tell people what it was like for me to be a mom, and that first episode came out, and I was in the process of recording episode 2 and 3, and I just didn't want to do it anymore. I was very disappointed in myself, because here was yet another project that Shannon had done that didn't come to pass. My heart wasn't in it. My mind wasn't in it. And I had to let that go. But the content had to change, and Shea Butter Mama had to be sort of pushed to the side, because that me didn't exist anymore. I'm now a mom of 2. We're on tour, touring the United States. My life has changed significantly. I don't work the 9 to 5. I'm not singing as often as I was, barely, really. And so life has completely altered for me and for my family. And so Shea Butter Mama had to be, that Shannon had to be put to the side. And my hope is that with Milk and Hue, it'll grow with me. It won't be something that I have to shelf again in another year or 2. It's the game we play with social media, but it's also taught me that the internet doesn't need my immediacy. Growth doesn't announce itself. It's something that we have to work on and grow through and be present in. And I really found myself consistently thinking about episodes or what would attract people or what would, and it's like, you can just authentically show up and be you and people will watch and listen. But you know, when we are bombarded with like social media, it's really hard to feel like your authentic self is what people want to be a part of. What you see on my social media is bubbly, my kids, my husband, my, and it's like, this is just kind of like, girl, are we here? Are we present? Are we being here? What I'm also learning is that silence is sacred. It's okay to be quiet. It's absolutely okay to be quiet. It's okay to sit in the silence. You know, we have the saying that silence is deafening, but it's closing off our ears to a lot of the noise, which is why I feel like it is deafening. Like it's shutting out everything. And that sacred time with you and your inner self and God is like, so what I want you to do is reflect on a season or a time, or even if that's now, where you're rushing. You're trying to catch up. You're trying to get into the norm and the swing and the groove of things with everybody else. I want you to practice normalizing taking time before naming things. Whether that's a relationship, a podcast, a decision, a job, whatever it is, take time to listen, take time to breathe, take time to think. I want to say this. If you've been feeling behind, if you've been questioning your timing, if life has asked you to move slower than you planned to, you're not late. You're listening. Slowing down doesn't mean you're losing momentum. It means that you're finally moving with intention. This season of my life, this pause, this quiet, taught me that I don't have to rush to be worthy of telling my story. I can grow in real time. Milk and Hue was born into that understanding, not from urgency, but from alignment. Thank you for sitting with me. Thank you for listening. Thank you for slowing down alongside me. Wherever you are, I hope that you give yourself the permission to move gently through this season, to slow down in this season. Take your time, move with intention, and live in your hue. See you next episode.